Now, Gauteng Premier David Makhura says those involved in PPE corruption will be held responsible and face the consequences. He made remarks earlier during his State of the Province address. This after President Cyril Ramaphosa presented his State of the Nation address earlier this month. It's been a challenging time for the province, tainted by PPE scandals, and the country battles the COVID-19 pandemic. eNCA's Kailihle Khumalo joins us for more. Kaya, the Premier has outlined how the country's the province economic hub is doing to deal with COVID-19. Tell us more.
Well, that's right, Maseko. As a matter of fact, that's one of the priority areas where the Premier focused on. So it's anchored on recovery of the economy, but also coronavirus, of course. And just to quote the Premier's words, he said corruption really undermined the bold interventions that have been used to deal with the pandemic. But Maseko, let's really get the reaction here from the provincial legislature. Joining us now is the Chief Whip of the ANC, Mr. Khumalo. Maybe say your fleeting reaction to the address.
The first thing is that we are very happy with the address that the Premier has presented to the people of this province, particularly as he started by giving a report back to the commitment that had been made prior, in other words, to the last State of the Province address. But we are particularly happy that the 4 areas that we politically have prioritized have been addressed: defeating COVID itself, economic recovery of the province itself, building social compacts, and also building a capable state. To that extent, we are happy with the rollout program around vaccination, and we want to call on the people of this province to participate in the vaccination process, because amongst the only way to defeat COVID itself is through vaccination. And we're happy with the rollout program as presented by the Premier. And we want to also thank the Premier with the poverty relief projects or relief funds that have been put in place to help many of our people who find themselves in a poverty situation. But also, as it relates to the issue of the economic recovery, we are more impressed with the special economic zones that will be taking place in Sidibeng, in the West Rand, and also in Tshwane. But we are particularly more happy with progress that has been made thus far on the special economic zone of Tshwane. More interesting is the fact that your SMMEs coming from the townships are going to be the major beneficiary of the billions that the Premier has announced. On the social compact, we are happy with the infrastructure rollout. Particularly, it might be related to COVID as it is, but if you look at it, Gauteng has built new hospitals, be it the Jubilee, be it the one in the West Rand, and the others that will be taking place in Sidibeng and so on. After this COVID, when the COVID is defeated finally, these infrastructure initiatives that are there in the communities are going to help the province to extend health care to many of our people who really need it. On building a capable state, we're happy with the fact that we will be building, the Premier is committed on building an ethical, honest and developmental state. We think that is very important to us, particularly in the light of corruption that is associated with the PPEs and all of those kind of things. Building an ethical and honest state it's important to us. The actions that he said that they're going to be taking to all of those who are found in the wrong side of the law. But we want to say to the people of this province, we must not look at everything that is related to roll out of PPEs as being corrupt. There are many good stories to be told there. Many of our health workers have got their own PPEs on a daily basis. That's why they're in the forefront of fighting COVID. Yes, many of them have lost life, but there are many whose life have been protected out of the rollout of the PPEs. It will be wrong for us to suggest that everything else that has happened around PPEs and fighting COVID, it's corrupt in a sense. There are things that are far away from corruption that are benefiting our people. So all in all, we're very happy, and we are passing a vote of confidence to the Premier and his cabinet. Let me repeat, a vote of no confidence to the Premier and his cabinet for the good work that they've done, particularly under the difficult conditions that we found ourselves in. We want to say, let's continue to build a social compact between government, different sectors, be it universities and so on, and in particular the people of this particular province, to defeat our number one enemy as we are standing here, which is the COVID itself.
And how do you deal with the issue of trust? The Premier said corruption has really dented the gains that have been made in terms of the very bold response that you've seen. But how do you ensure that the trust deficit is dealt with?
Trust deficit cannot only be related to corruption. I think we'll be making a mistake. Trust deficit also goes with the commitments that you are making. The first thing that we should be addressing is that all the commitments that we've made to the people of this province must be realized. We think that's very important. But the second point is that, yes, we are saying everything else that we are doing in this province must be intended to bring back the trust deficit that we're suffering from our people. It's a fact. As the African National Congress, we have accepted it. Many of our people in this province have turned their back on us because of the issue of trust deficit resulting from corruption itself. What we are saying is that in order to regain that, everything else, all the commitment we've made to the people of this province, we must address them in order to win back their trust. But in particular, we said three things must happen around corruption. We must ensure that corruption is detected. We must ensure that corruption must be dealt with as speedily as possible. A speedy resolution of any corrupt activity in the province will be a source of priority. And by doing that, we believe that we will win back the trust of our people.
All right, so thank you so much for your time. And Masego, if you may just bear with us, we also have the DA leader here in the province. Just your quick reaction to the address.
Well, I think the Premier's last closing word summarizes everything. The people have lost trust in this government. We've heard the Premier talking about corruption as if the corruption landed here from Huawei. From Wuhan last year when the first case of COVID came in. We've had corruption here for a number of years. What COVID has done is actually to highlight what has been happening here in Gauteng. The Premier talks about the pain that the people are feeling. I can tell you right now, people are feeling pain because they now know that inflated prices towards PPE has been the order of the day. They now know that the Premier has been lying to them for the last 3 or 4 years. The Premier said, e-tolls have got no future here in Gauteng. Where are we right now? Last week, we've just had the new gazetted toll fees, which means that the e-tolls are here to stay. Where are we? We're sitting with municipalities that are collapsing. In Fuleni, which the Premier admitted that they've been pumping a lot of money into that, but service hasn't improved. What does that tell you? That they are not serious about governance, and especially at the local level, and assisting local governments to then get it right. What we are seeing now is a total collapse and lack of management and consequence management that is taking place from the head down to the to the local level, and that is something that the people of Gauteng have really lost trust in and are very frustrated at this point in time, and they need change, and they need to see change right now.
And what do you make of total silence around the e-toll issue?
Well, I'm not surprised. He's been banging, marching, jumping up and down, saying the e-tolls have got no future in Gauteng. But has done absolutely nothing about it. We said to the Premier, lodge an intergovernmental dispute with the national government. He refused to do that. Western Cape has done it, and this is why you don't have tolling like what we have here in Gauteng. And this goes to show that they were not serious about this. They knew that they were going to lose votes. They needed to buy some time, and now they are back to square one, where they want to criminalize law-abiding citizens of this province.
All right, so thank you so much indeed for your time. So, Masego, those are the developments here from the provincial legislature here in Johannesburg.
All right, let's leave it there. Khumalo. Now,